Hello again YouTube and welcome back to Just Get a Tesla. It's the Sunday before Christmas and I'm in Gateshead in the northeast of England with a reasonable view of Newcastle at my hotel bedroom window. On the way down earlier this week I was getting amazing efficiency, and if you haven't seen that video, watch that one first and then come back to this one. Let's see what the trip home is going to be like. It's still freezing cold, there's still plenty of ice on the road, and I've got 280 miles to go. This could be interesting. Okay, let's see where Santa is going to take us, which is home. All you need to do is to swipe right if you're away from home, and it gives you your route back. And a single stop at Edinburgh, which is what I was expecting. That's actually routing me via the A1, but I don't want to go that way. I want to go Jedburgh, Carter Bar, over the hills that way. So we're going to do... No, add stop. We're going to put in Jedburgh, which is already there, because I do this quite often. I see now it's rerouting me to stop at Dundee rather than Edinburgh, so that shows you how much more energy efficient the Jedburgh route actually is. Okay, we'll do that. And it is going to take me, how long? Until 4:20, and it's 10:50. Let's go. Actually, no, before we go, let's just remind ourselves of how we've done with energy consumption so far. So trip A is the trip down, so I'm on 305 as my average energy consumption versus my total lifetime average of 286, considering that it has been below freezing for almost the entirety of that trip down, and slushy. And again, if you haven't seen that video, watch it now and then come back. That is absolutely sensational efficiency. So don't worry about winter driving. If you're in a Tesla Model Y, it really is efficient. Going past the fabulous Hilton on the left and across the Tyne Bridge into Newcastle. So it is a slightly warmer day than it was on the way down. It's +1 degree, which it doesn't feel it because the wind is whipping down this river, and certainly was last night. But at least the weather is starting to show signs of warming back up again, but it's still cold, and it's going to be interesting to see how a slightly hillier route performs versus going along the coast as I did on the way down. And again, on the way down, the efficiency that I got was almost ludicrous, considering that it was cold and slush and snow that I'd driven through. That bit along the Aberdeen bypass where you're down to a single slushy lane because of the amount of snow that's down, to still get efficiency like that is phenomenal. So let's see how it works on the way back. We are 37 miles now from Newcastle, and consumption is 328 watt-hours per mile, so 3 miles per kilowatt hour, which it's not great, but it's not awful. Again, it's -1, and as you can see, there's still bits of snow about. It's more of a dusting on the hills ahead as we head towards the Scottish border at Carter Bar, but it's not as dramatically cold as it has been. This road though is still a joy. This is the A68 across to Edinburgh, and in any weather except perhaps for thick fog, I love this road. It is definitely my favourite border route to get from Scotland back into England. I had to turn Santa mode off because for some reason today, every time you went onto the indicators, you had sleigh bells, which is a bit irritating after a while. It's a lot of fun. It's one of those quirky Tesla things where they're doing things to be different and be interesting, and that's good, but it is a bit annoying. So I've turned it off. It'll go back on next time the kids are in the car and we want to laugh. Crossing the border now back into Scotland, and just to give you an idea as to Scotland is quite a long country, but I have still got 4.5 hours of driving plus a charging stop to get home to my bit of northeastern Scotland in northern Aberdeenshire. Oh wow, this is some vista as you come over the top. It's a little bit hazy in the distance, but it's still, yeah, it's still really, really good to look at. I think he's broken down and being rescued. Yeah. So I hit 344 watt hours per mile at the top. When we get into Jedburgh down at the bottom, it'll be interesting to see what the consumption rate has dropped to at that point. We're about to roll into Jedburgh, and yes, the efficiency has improved significantly, because from car to bar it's downhill all the way, and we're now showing 289 watt hours per mile versus the 344 from the top. So a significant improvement, and again 288 as it is now on 48 miles since Newcastle. That is pretty much the same as my long-term average. And again, it's cold, there is lying snow on the ground that's been there for a while, and efficiency is fantastic. We are on the run through the Pentland Hills now, south of Edinburgh, so 14 miles to the city bypass, and this is the section of road where I got stuck in a blizzard last winter, which suddenly came down, and the only things that got through was me in my Outlander and a transit van like that. We were the only vehicles that got through. You're going up here and everybody has got stuck. And I remember you've got this 3-lane section, and effectively the only way to continue was to be just weaving around, following the bits of rut in the snow that had any kind of traction on them, and doing it to go around cars that had basically had stranded themselves. What that taught me was that electric motors, even if you're on summer tires as the Outlander was, but electric motors have got such fine control with regards to the amount of power they're putting down that they are fantastic in slippery conditions. And I think it's the same with Tesla as well. Perhaps the fact that you can't adjust regen is a problem, because, well, you can. So I've got it on chill mode, which reduces the amount of throttle and the amount of regen. That is better than having it on standard, or if you're one of the performance guys, or you've paid the money for the upgrade sport, where you get even crazier levels of harsh regen. You don't want that, because it unbalances the car. You want it to be you know, planted on the road and not throwing the weight forwards and backwards. But yeah, it was interesting to see the fact that I could walk my way around all of these other stranded vehicles who were going absolutely nowhere. And then you got to the top, and then of course the thing to do then was to go very, very, very gingerly and slowly on the downhill. And again, I was being really light with a touch of regen just to hold the speed, because you didn't want to start running away to the point where you were going to lose traction. I'm heading for the Supercharger at Edinburgh Newbridge. I've got plenty of power. I'm going to arrive on 25%. Plug it in, get something to eat, unplug it, and away we go. We've just plugged in. I'm going to see what speed we get to, and then I'm away down to McDonald's. So these are V3 chargers with a maximum of 250 kilowatts. I'm arriving on 25%, so I won't get that much, but 187. Is it still going? 189. 191. Come on, keep going. What are we going to ramp up to? So we hit 192 very briefly, and it's coming back. The ones in Dundee are V2 chargers, so you're only going to get as far as 150 at the top end. So even stopping now with more power left in the battery, it's still worth it to stop here, because I charge faster. And now the walk down the road to McDonald's. I'm loving it. So as so often happens when I charge up at Edinburgh and go down to McDonald's, I'm suffering from charger anxiety, not range anxiety. So I've got out of the car, plugged it in, 5 minutes walk down to McDonald's, been to the loo while they're making my order, grabbed my food, 5-minute walk back, and the car has just pinged me and told me it's time to unplug. So that's what I'm going to do straight away. And we're shifting off the charger because it's polite. I'm not charging, so I'm moving. There are actually plenty of chargers free, but I'm going to be nice. And it's basic charging etiquette, which frankly some drivers still need to learn. You'll forgive my indulgence if I put the Queen's Ferry crossing on pretty much every Scotland to England road trip that I do. It's one of those journey waypoints that you just have to admire. We're actually trundling across the bridge doing 40 miles an hour, and on the way before the junction we've just been through, it said hazard after junction 1A, which basically is the bridge. So I don't quite know what the hazard is. It also says bus lane closed. Now the bus lane on here is actually the hard shoulder, so it's another one of these smart motorways where they will switch the hard shoulder in and out. I don't mind smart motorways where there is an actual hard shoulder and they basically switch traffic into it when capacity is needed and then out for the rest of the time. That is much better than no hard shoulder at all and permanent all lane running. So I'm guessing perhaps somebody has broken down. That might be the hazard that we're talking about. We'll have a look. Anyway, what it does mean is I get to spend a wee bit longer looking at the bridge and looking off to the side along the Firth of Forth. We are still on the M90 going past Glenfarg. There is quite a lot more snow suddenly on all of the hills and surrounding fields. So there was kind of a dusting around Edinburgh, but now it's come back with a vengeance. It's still relatively warm compared to what it has been, so 3 degrees is not bad at all. I want to sing the praises again of the new indicators on the software update that's gone. Push the indicators down, change lanes, and they auto cancel once you have completed your move into the new lane. It's just one of those little automation features which is really handy. We'll do it again. Move back left, past the truck, and off they go. It's good. Well done, Tesla. Coming up on the Friarton Bridge across the Tay, it is really getting quite misty, and there is bits of snow being flicked up as we go, so it's obviously snowing very lightly despite the fact that it's 3 degrees, and all of the fields on the right hand side are completely white still. The hillside ahead of me with the trees obviously is not, but there is we're back into the wintry stuff. Anyway, to talk about efficiency for a minute, for the whole trip down to Teesside and then back again, I'm averaging 306 watt hours per mile versus my lifetime average of 287 watt hours per mile. That is not burning lots more energy because it is wintry conditions, cold, snow, etc. That is sensational efficiency. You know, it's largely what it would be if it was in the summer. And this is, you know, I'm doing a long trip here. This is 641 miles so far on this round trip, and the efficiency is unbelievable. We are north of Aberdeen on the A90 and now heading properly north, well, northeast, and the wind has gotten up, really gotten up, and I suspect it's now basically blowing straight in our face. The car is actually twitching a little bit at the gusts, So let's see what that does to efficiency, because so far, and I know I've talked about efficiency several times, but I'm still absolutely blown away by the consistency of this. So the entire trip there and back is 737 miles so far, with 307 watt hours per kilometre. Since we charged up in Edinburgh, 134 miles, that is 308 watt hours per kilometre. So it's consistent, it's the same level of energy burn, consistent on the trip. And the whole point about me talking about this on long distance journeys is that I can explain to you what the averages are like. It's not just taking a little short trip, it's let's do it over a longer distance. The point is 307 watt hours per mile is only 7% more than my lifetime average 287 watt hours per mile. So this trip has been cold, it has been driving through slushy, snowy conditions, and there's been a lot of motorway and fast dual carriageway, and I've only burned 7% more here in the depths of winter, in the coldest snap that Scotland has had for a decade, and the most prolonged cold snap it's had for more than a decade. But I'm only burning 7% more power than I would be normally. That is phenomenal. This car is the efficiency king. So if you want an EV where you don't need to be worrying about range, and you certainly don't need to be worrying about it in winter, just get a Tesla. The channel's called that, I'm going to keep saying it. The drivetrain efficiency that Tesla have, from the battery pack through the inverters and the motors, is just stunning. And other manufacturers are not in a position generally to be able to have anything like that level of efficiency. There's some very nice other EVs out there, but you get something like the Jaguar I-Pace, which is painfully inefficient, and several of the big Mercedes in a similar kind of position. It's not just about the size of battery, everybody, it's about how efficiently the drivetrain actually converts the power in those battery packs into actual miles. So you've got to look at it for efficiency. It's exactly the same as buying any car with a petrol or diesel engine, where it's not just the size of the engine that's the issue, it's how many miles per gallon are you going to get. Same thing with EVs, and there are some manufacturers who are very, very efficient, and Tesla is probably up there on top of the heap. And the only other one that I know of who is, again, mind-blowingly efficient is Kia Hyundai. Again, fantastic efficient drivetrain to be able to convert a battery pack, which on some of their cars, you know, the Mark 1 Ioniq EV had a 28 kilowatt hour battery pack and yet could do ridiculous distances on it. You know, that is a fantastic efficient drivetrain. That's what you need to be looking for, and Tesla have got it nailed. On the final run now to home, and the consumption overall has dropped again. It's now on 305 watt hours per mile. So that is literally 6% higher than my average. 6%. That's all. That's the only difference that a long drive in the winter has made versus my lifetime average. And let's not forget just how cold it is and has been on this trip. There is still snow and frost on the side of the road now on my way home, but driving down, if you've seen my other video about this trip, driving down, we were driving through slush. We had a single lane on the dual carriageway because the other one was covered in snow, with trucks trying to plough their way through it and giving up. We had huge amounts of cold and ice everywhere. Parking the car overnight and coming out and finding it covered in, you know, centimeters of frost, it's been that cold, of pavements that are an absolute skating rink because the council in England hadn't gritted them properly. It has been seriously cold while I've been doing this trip over multiple days, and yet the car just laughs it off. The car isn't bothered that it's cold. It says, I'm still going to be the most efficient thing you possibly can be. And that is why, if you want to be able to drive a car in the winter and not be concerned about range, just get a Tesla. Anyway, that is it for this video. I hope that all of these long road trip videos are interesting. Let me know in the comments if there's things that you want more of or more that you want less of. What I'm trying to do is give you my lived experience and some numbers and some data so that you can make your own judgments about your own car needs, or you're just a car geek as I am. Let me know again in the comments. Otherwise, I'll see you on the next one.